Welcome back to Morbidium, where the stories don't fade, they linger. Last season, we walked through the shadows, unsolved disappearances, fractured timelines, unanswered questions that still echo through the dark. But this season, we go deeper into the files that were closed too soon, the voices that were silenced, the truths that were buried beneath over fear and time. This isn't just true crime, it's the anatomy of what lingers after. Every case we tell carries weight for the victims, for the families, and for the communities left searching for peace. And as our audience continues to grow, so does our responsibility to tell these stories with integrity, empathy, and relentless curiosity. Season 3 is about unfinished business, cold cases that refuse to stay cold, mysteries that unravel when you pull the loose thread, and the chilling realization that sometimes the most terrifying thing isn't what happened, it's what didn't. So dim the lights, lock the doors, and lean in close, because the truth is out there, and we're not done looking. This is Morbidium. Hey everyone, today we're digging into a story that's been frozen in time for over 2 decades. It's dark, it's twisted, and honestly, it's a story you won't forget easily.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where you think you know people, family, friends, but sometimes the monster is sitting right there in the middle of your life. And that's exactly what happened in Waycross, Georgia, with Terry Rouse, who was 21, full of life, and then all of a sudden, he was just gone without a trace. And the person responsible, someone he was related to.
So before we go further, just a note. A lot of the details we'll share come from court records, they come from witness statements and media reports. Some parts are accounts from family or friends. So we'll make sure to let you guys know when something is reported rather than officially confirmed.
Yeah, because this case, like so many, has so many layers. Truth, rumour, fear, and a little good old-fashioned he said, she said. But thankfully, the jury eventually untangled it. Somewhat.
All right, so let's set the scene. It's May 11th, 1991. Terry Rouse, who's 21 again, had just been at a party near the Okefenokee Swamp, and that's in Waycross, Georgia. A normal night for this young man with his friends, and at least superficially.
Yeah, he was last seen leaving a party, but here's where it starts getting a little bit weird. His car was found soon after, and the engine was still running. The windows were down. The radio was still playing. Everything was in place, almost like he had just stepped out for a second. But Terry, he was never seen again.
It's chilling. There were no witnesses. There wasn't a body. There was nothing. And because of that, the case went cold pretty quickly. Police suspected foul play, obviously, but without a body or any clear evidence, it was kind of a nightmare to investigate.
Yeah, this was one of those classic cold case scenarios. Frustrating for the investigators and terrifying for the family. It's the kind of situation where you have all of the signs screaming danger, but legally, yes, just kind of stuck. And it's easy to forget the human side here. Terry's family spent years wondering what had happened, holding on to hope that he'd just disappeared. But every year made that a little harder to accept and their hope get a little bit dimmer.
So enter Craig Lester Thrift. This was Terry's cousin. And in the mid 90s, Craig starts dating Robin Berry, who'd moved to Georgia after her divorce.
And Robin, she thought he was charming, funny, attractive. I mean, it's the classic story. But then there's always a catch, especially when we are talking about these people.
Exactly. She was warned early on by friends that Craig had some serious anger issues, and she ignored them. Like those of us who chase these These bad boys, they just think, "Oh, he can't be that bad," or, "I'll fix him." No. Uh,
Yeah, but in this case, within a very short time, she had no choice but to realise, yeah, he really was that bad. And he started showing some pretty violent tendencies, pushing her into walls, firing guns in her direction indoors, and even threatening her life. And he also constantly brought up Terry's disappearance.
ooh. So he would joke about Terry being eaten by alligators in the swamp. He would display these framed newspaper clippings about the disappearance and bragged about knowing how to dispose of a body so no one would ever find it. He even claimed that Terry had been killed because of an affair with his ex wife.
Yeah, it's all disturbing on multiple levels. I mean, using the memory of a missing family member to control and terrorize. Oh my God, why can't I say terrorize? I got there. Terrorize someone? I mean, this is a whole new level of messed up.
So Robin stayed. She hoped he would change, but after a few years in the early 2000s, she finally left and moved in with her daughter.
And that's when the loose threads started coming together. People she told, statements she made. Suddenly, it all started making sense to investigators.
So for over 20 years, Terry's disappearance remains this cold case. And then law enforcement starts talking to people connected to Craig.
And what they discover? Greg had confessed to killing Terry to multiple people, including Robin, but also others as well. They documented these confessions along with his ongoing threats, brags, and his erratic behavior.
Even without a body, authorities realized these statements, combined with the abandoned car and the swamp's reputation, were enough to reopen the case.
And that was one of those moments where arrogance really did come back to bite him. He'd assumed no one could touch him without a body, but his own mouth gave it all away.
Yeah, and it's worth noting a lot of the evidence was circumstantial. There was no direct forensic link. It's like catching someone because of a trail of breadcrumbs. I can't say breadcrumbs. Okay, they've left this trail of breadcrumbs themselves. Like he led them to him.
I'm getting nervous continuing because both of us are getting tongue tied and tripping up over our words. And I'm the worst for it, so if you're doing it, I've got no chance.
Buckle up.
Okay, so, I mean, how it played out, it also highlights how frustrating this all was for the families. I mean, this was 2 decades of not knowing. Watching the person who was responsible for Terry's disappearance just live their life. I mean, that's got to have been torturous.
So fast forward to 2012 when Craig Thrift was arrested, and the case finally gains momentum and begins to move forward.
His trial was held in 2014, and the jury had to decide based largely on Robin's testimony, a few witness statements, and circumstantial evidence around the car and his behaviour afterwards.
So he was acquitted of malice murder, which is the highest level and premeditated, but was convicted of felony murder. That's basically saying, yes, he's responsible for a death during the commission of another crime.
And he was sentenced to life in prison. No body, decades of manipulation and intimidation, but justice finally happened. And it's a reminder that even if a case goes cold, evidence of boasting, confessions, the intimidation we've talked about, it can all be enough to bring someone down.
You ever think about whether he fed Terry to the gators?
I mean, that is the scary part because we'll never know. But from things that we know he said, I mean, it's highly likely. And that swamp is basically a legend for disappearing people. So it works.
It makes you think about human psychology, like the way he tormented Robin for years, saying he could kill her and framing things about Terry's disappearance. That's a perverse hobby.
Yeah, I mean, the real horror isn't even the murder itself. It's the years of psychological terror and arrogance that followed it. And the swamp, it's like the perfect metaphor for this case. Hidden, mysterious, dangerous.
Exactly. And it's so easy to imagine people living in that same town, seeing the signs, but not fully connecting the dots until years and years later.
I mean, yeah, that's what makes it so chilling. People think they know someone, but these secrets really can fester for decades.
And you got to wonder if Robin had left sooner or someone had taken those threats and his statements more seriously, could Terry have been found? I mean, maybe, I think likely not. I think he had long since made sure his body could never be recovered.
I mean, yeah, it's more it's unlikely, very unlikely, but at the same time it's kind of hard to say. One thing though is for sure, and I apologize for the noise in the background. My cats are chasing each other around the room, and it sounds like an earthquake's happening. I just keep feeling them run past my head, and it's kind of terrifying. Um, Not as terrifying as the case is, but a little bit terrifying for my head. Um, I'm trying to find a way to get back into the case because the cats have just totally derailed everything.
Well,
I'm,
yeah, I was just going to say, like, that's what makes me so afraid of gators and swamps. And I've not been to Florida, but I have been to, my aunt had a home in Baton Rouge, and there were gators in their pond out front. And I was so scared. And I was a child then. This is not aged well. I'm not camping. I'm not messing around with no alligator water. That's just it. I'm not doing it.
I mean, yeah, but if you ever decide to, those brave moments of insanity where you think, yeah, this is a good idea, just take a friend or 10. I will not be one of them. I mean, it won't be me, but I mean, as long as you make sure that they're safe friends and not one who has some hidden murder confession just hanging around in the background, you'll be fine.
No, I'm going to just stay in the city and hope that nobody else catches a feeling of murder around me. Yeah. Nope. I'm
I
not a
mean,
camper.
yeah, I vote for the staying in built up areas. I mean, it really does sound like the safest option.
All right, guys. That's the story of Terry Rouse and Craig Thrift. Twisted, long. It is tragic. It's horrific and tragic.
I mean, it really is. And this is something I want to throw out there. Anyone who listens to this, we want to hear back. We want to know if you were an investigator on this case, what could have been done differently? How would you have approached this one? I mean, I want to know if there was a way this could have been solved faster.
You guys can hit us up on social media. You can leave a comment, send a voice message. We love hearing your theories. We love discussing them in our free time. We go over all of the conspiracies, and some of them are even better than ours.
Some of them, not all of them. We have some really good theories out there. But until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and maybe avoid swamps.